to podcast. My name is Ben, and today we have the honor of speaking with the one, the only DappRadar co-founder Dragos. What's up, man? How you doing today?
Ooh, awesome. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Nice to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here on the show. So, really want to dive in, make the most of our time together. Would love to hear your story of how you really got to where you are today.
Yeah, definitely. Um, uh, I can start with the fact that I have co-founded DappRadar with together with Skirmantas, the other co-founder of DappRadar, because like we have a long history together. Even if he's much younger than I am, we've met more than 10 years ago in an online forum. We are like we have our nice story together. We were both looking to let's say to find ways to make a living out of being online and trying to do software development. We were both pretty young, and we were looking for different ways on how can we learn more, how can we make a living out of, again, software development. So we've met in an online forum, and then we kept working together on and off. I mean, in the meantime, I also I was studying. I had different jobs, but we never stopped working together. So a few years later, after we have met, I found out about Bitcoin. Like another friend of mine told me, like, hey, like, there's this new thing happening. You can mine it with your graphic card, and you can kind of earn Bitcoin by mining with your GPU. And I was like, yeah, I don't really get it. I was not into. I was not really understanding like what's the reason of doing that. What can you actually do with that thing, and so on. But like a year later, or like 1.5 years later, that was happening in around 2013 or so.
Wow.
I have decided like I would like to learn more about this. And I mean, actually, the first thing that I did was like to buy some Bitcoin. I mean, I just bought a small, uh, like a small portion of Bitcoin, and that kind of got me started into learning because I was looking at the price. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, the price is going up. Why it is going up? Why people are you buying this? What are they doing with this, and so on? And kind of, I have started to learn more about Bitcoin. At the same time, I kept doing different projects with Skirmantas, and I kept bugging him like, hey, there's new thing, like there's this new thing, blockchain, and
Hmm.
you can like have cryptocurrencies and so on. We should look at that. Maybe we can build some project around it. And yeah, I mean, we didn't really went into that like immediately. We kept building other things. In the meantime, we got more into gaming. We were looking at in-game items like CSGO skins and Dota skins and so on. We were trying to learn more about the markets. We were trying to analyze what's going on those markets. And why I'm mentioning that is because those in-game items are very similar to NFTs. So that kind of drove some of our curiosity going forward. And yeah, I mean, we kept building those tools around in-game skins, and at some point in around 2017, at the end of the year, we have started to hear about CryptoKitties, which I think probably CryptoKitties is one of the most mentioned game, or like Dapp, whenever someone talks about how did you find out about dapps, how did you find out about Ethereum, CryptoKitties is probably the first big event that drove a lot of software developers, gamers, and so on into the space. After that, Skirmantas got super excited about this CryptoKitties thing, and he started to look at smart contracts. And he was like, look, there's no way to identify new trending dapps, or like, how can we find more CryptoKitties? Like, we were like, okay, there's CryptoKitties, but how can we find others? And there was no such a place to find these dapps and this trending and data about decentralized applications. And this is how DappRadar was built over a weekend. Skirmantas put together some lines of code about getting the number of users, the volume of these decentralized applications. And then he showed that to me, and he was like, let's do it much bigger, because users on Reddit or like other platforms, they were super excited already. They were like, oh, that's awesome. Like, now you can actually look like which decentralized application is more popular, which one has the most users, and so on. And then after that week, we kept looking at that and tried to expand it. And that's how it was literally like the DappRadar was done in a weekend, like the first initial version, which was much simpler than what we have today.
That is amazing. And I just have to say, as a user of DappRadar, thank you for what you've built. Like, it is
Awesome.
amazing. It is amazing. So now at this point, I mean, you must be getting millions and millions of viewers every single month coming to the site, using the site. I mean, did you ever expect that it would get so big and so popular?
Not really. I mean, to be honest, like when we have started it, first of all, we were amazed that a lot of users were interested in that. But on the other side, that was the reason that we kept working on it, and that was the reason we kept developing more features. And like soon after, it kind of also started to drive some revenues. So probably a few months later, we were already, let's say, kind of getting some money through advertisements, through like different promoting popular dapps on the platform and so on. So we were like, okay, like this can actually be a thing. I mean, it's more than just a place, like a table where you can see like a few numbers. It can actually be much more than that. And probably half a year later, we are from, I'm Romanian. I was living in Italy back then. Skirmantas is Lithuanian, and this is where DappRadar is. And Skirmantas just saw that like close to Lithuania, I think it was in Kiev back then, in Ukraine. We saw a blockchain conference about crypto games. So it was the first ever crypto games conference. Like literally, crypto games were not really a thing, and like someone just decided that they would organize this blockchain games conference. And we had this great idea, like, hey, like let's go there. Let's meet the Dapp developers. Let's meet Dapp users and see maybe this is actually going somewhere. It's not just a small thing. And we also had this great idea of creating some DappRadar t-shirts. And it was like the first time when we were going around and people were stopping us and they were like, hey guys, I love your platform. Like you've built a great thing. And that's like, I think that was the point when we have realized we've built something useful and we've built something that other people are finding, like it's valuable for other people. And at the same conference, we've also met Patrick, which is, let's say, the third co-founder that joined us later, and he helped us with a lot of experience in the business space. We've put together a plan. We've managed to raise funds to actually build a real company from just a little startup, like a little project, let's say. We actually became a startup. And with the knowledge that we had, with his experience, we've put everything together, and we have managed to raise our first seed round. And that's when we have started to hire more people to help us, and to build a much bigger product. And we've advanced a lot since then.
That's amazing. So from the point where you started to realize, okay, wow, I'm getting some real traction here, and okay, wow, it's starting to monetize, and hey, it makes sense to spend more time on this. Like, what did you do or do differently? Like, did you quit your job and go all in, or were you like, okay, I need to kind of keep this as a side hustle? Like, how did you think through, I know I have something, I know it's going to take work, like let me build this in a way that I don't, sabotage, my life and what I'm doing, so like, how did you think through that, and what decision did you make as far as like how to allocate time and all that?
Yeah, I think it was pretty organic, like everything. I don't think neither me or Experimentus, we put too much thought on that. I mean, we had some experiences before, because as I said, we kept working on and off on different things for 10 years. And I don't know, I think somewhere in our heads, we were always looking for this project. I mean, we're always looking for that big thing that will really will be popular and people will use it and it will drive revenues and so on. because we were in a continuous search, like we were always building projects. We were kind of trying to understand, does it make sense, are people using it? Not really. Okay, let's put it aside, let's build something new, and so on. So we kind of kept doing that a lot of times. And I think with DappRadar I think it was natural. I was working back then. I think I've worked for like another few months, like maybe 2 3 months after we have started to see that like that's actually that can be big. And I've said, okay, that's it. I always had my parents' support, so they were like, okay, like do what you think it's good for you. So if you think that's the right way, like we can support you. Like maybe you'll not have the money at the start, maybe to kind of pay everything and so on, but we can support you. So I was always like lucky enough to have the support of my family. Yeah, it was not a difficult decision when you have everything and when you're actually looking for that thing. It's just easy to take the decision and move with it.
That's incredible. So once you really started to like raise money, build out your team, and really build a startup out of this, and really something significant, from obviously it was significant for the beginning, but to really keep the snowball rolling, what changed, if anything, in your process of building, shipping, and really growing?
Yeah, like I think a lot has changed. Obviously, at the start, we were just, I mean, first of all, like it was just me and Skirmantas like being the main developers. And now we have like a team, like all our team right now is like more than 55 people. So we are like a huge team compared to like 3 years, 3.5 years ago. Um, so yeah, I think probably the processes, I think we are in a place where we need to have much better processes. As for the first 2 years, I think it just works. I mean, when you are like a small team, you don't really need. I mean, yeah, you need some processes, but you don't need a lot of structure. Like things are just working. It's just easy to reach out to like each developer. You know everybody very well. You discuss with everybody all the time. So it's like much easier to keep a connection between everybody that's working. So it's kind of hard to be like to not have alignment. But now at this size, I think that's the biggest thing from my perspective. Like we need to have much more structure. Like we need to implement better processes to make sure we still deliver fast and we still deliver quality products. I think that's the key.
Yeah, that's amazing. And hopefully all of the the other founders that are listening to this will experience some, that great problem to have of growing so much where you do need to think about all that stuff. For the folks that they're trying stuff, maybe they're building games or they're building applications, but it's not really it's not really clicking quite yet. The people aren't really flocking to it. How do you know when you have a good idea, it just needs more work and it needs more time to develop, or hey, it's better to just shelve it and go on to something else? Like how would you approach that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I don't think there's like just one answer that could just like give you all the information that you need to take a decision. But um, I think it's always good to do some research. Now, like there are like plenty of tools to understand where the market is. For example, if you're building a game, and is also talking about a blockchain game, I think even using tools like DappRadar to assess what's happening in the market, or things like similar web, for example, that you can kind of understand what's the traction that other games are having in the industry, or like what are they doing to actually drive traffic. Maybe you haven't figured out like how to drive the traffic to your application or to your app. And it's always good to do some research. I think that's the most important thing when launching something new, is to try to look around, try to look in the market and see what are the numbers of that market, what are the numbers of that niche, and where are the users of that niche. Or maybe there are certain niches that you have a lot of users on Reddit, or like you have a lot of users on Twitter. And I think these are like key platforms for, especially for the crypto space. But um, Yeah, I think that would be my kind of suggestion, is to understand exactly if maybe you have an amazing idea, but you are not doing the right marketing, or maybe yeah, maybe you miss a key feature. And also, like, I think trying to get feedback, I think that's very, very important and valuable. And again, like, getting back to DappRadar days, we've just went out on Reddit, try to get more feedback, and we got super valuable feedback from users, um, because that helped us to grow like super fast in the next months, because we've listened to that feedback. We were asking the right questions, and yeah, also, like, that's key to ask the right questions, because sometimes you might be I mean, if you're looking at a problem from one single angle, you might not ask the right questions, and that's also something to try. And it's always try to look from the outside. One thing that I'm doing is that I'm always trying to use my friends that are not necessarily crypto savvy, or like they're not necessarily gamers. I'm trying to share something that I'm doing with them, and then asking for their feedback. And I think sometimes I got super valuable questions, or maybe even feedback that helped me to understand, because I was never thinking from that perspective. Being a gamer or being a crypto kind of like person, I'm always like looking from these angles. I'm never looking at the problems from a, let's say, person that is not on a day-to-day basis like with in crypto news, crypto projects, and so on. So I think, yeah, this would be some of my suggestions. I think it's important to also to not give up fast. I think sure, you also don't need to beat that horse for a long time, because like you might lose time, or you might lose the other opportunities. But I think, yeah, it's also like, don't give up fast, and try to do some research, and try to see where those users are. Like, try to identify who are your users. Like, I think that's a key question, because also we've struggled sometimes with DappRadar as well, because we are trying to serve so many type of users. We often had this challenge, or like, how can we define our users? And I think as soon as you answer that question, you can then start to do some research. Okay, where are those users spending their time? Like, are they on social media, or maybe yeah, on other different channels? And I think that's also very important, especially early. Like, you just need those 100, like 200 users that will use your app daily. And as soon as you have those, it's much easier to understand the behaviors, and to try to scale from that, because you already have some data.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So once you know a little bit more about your user base, and let's say, for example, how you guys went to Reddit and you solicited user feedback, and that was really helpful feedback that then led to, or at least partly contributed to, your massive growth shortly thereafter. How did you ask in a way that wasn't like just going and shilling bags, like, because so many people want to talk about their project and want to share with the world, and they maybe even know who their audience is and where to find them, but they get there and they just shill like a complete asshole, and it doesn't work at all. So like, how did you do that in a super palatable way that then led to more user growth?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think on one side we were also lucky, because back then there are not so many projects trying to fight for that audience. So it was much easier. And also, like, we came with something that was super useful. So yeah, I don't think anybody saw that as like just shilling, because we were literally trying to, I mean, we've built that tool first of all for us. So we've built it, how can we find those dapps? And then it was just easy to, like, others found the exact same utility as we did. So I think that's key. I mean, you need to build something that's useful, and that's actually bringing some value in a way or another. And I think, yeah, it's the way you frame it, and it's also like, yeah, I don't think it's that easy again today, because you have so much noise, and it's hard to cut through the noise and try to really find some users. But I think, generally speaking, I think in the crypto space, there are so many friendly communities, and you can even go to communities that are not necessarily uh, like Reddit, for example, and you just go to, let's say, the Ethereum subreddit, and ask questions there, because it's hard. Like, it's there's so much competition. Everybody's trying to promote, or like to kind of push their news, or their projects. But I think even going into other dapps communities, I found like dapp communities being super friendly. And like one of the projects that I respect and we've kind of grew together, obviously like Axie Infinity, like they're like our friends. We've met them super early in their journey and in our journey as well. We've shared some time in conferences back then and so on. So Axie Infinity's community is one of the best. I mean, early in their stages, they were super helpful with everybody. They were trying to educate people. They were even giving away free access to new players just to get them started. So I think even going into those communities and trying to ask for feedback, because you know those users are using dapps, those users are using games, and trying to get their feedback on something that you're building in a nice way, obviously, not just going there and share the link and say like, hey, try this out. That's not necessarily the right way to do it. I'm sure like anybody that's trying to do that, they will get the right help. It's just about, again, being respectful and trying to value people's time. Like everybody has something that they need to look after. So you need to be respectful of people's time. And I think if you do that, yeah, I think you'll get the feedback that you need.
I love that. I love that. So let's kind of move now towards more towards the present of where you guys really are in your life cycle. So obviously your team has grown, you've raised some money, you're looking to expand your product suite. I don't know if it's me or if the site gets more beautiful every time I go look at it, but like you guys are just moving at a freaking super fast, like lightning speed here. So I mean, you're doing something right, a lot of things right. But like, how are you continuing to like keep the pace? Like, what are you focused on really? I know you talked about systematizing and really building like, standard operating procedures and just making things, staying on point. But like, what are you thinking about? What are you working on? What are you building towards?
Definitely. I think recently we have also repositioned ourselves. I think we had a good start and we had a very a great growth. And I think we have a lot of, let's say, users that have seen DappRadar maybe 2 years ago, and if they haven't visited us in a long time, they would still refer to us, or they would still look at DappRadar as like that Dapp rankings website. But those days are gone. I mean, we're much more than that, and you can do much more things on DappRadar. We have expanded a lot. We have so many products, and we want to keep going, and we want to also not just keep expanding, but also like improving the quality of our products and what we are trying to offer to all users. So recently, like last year, we have repositioned ourselves as the world's Dapp store. We really believe that we are in the position where we can, I mean, we have acted since the start as a Dapp store. But a lot of users were looking at us as and it's kind of hard, like as a user, it's kind of hard to see like what DappRadar is actually doing, like from your perspective as a user that is just looking at some data, for example. But last month, we have sent over 1.5 million users into decentralized applications. So that means those users ended
Wow.
up on some websites, on some dapps. So yeah, I don't know, like by my knowledge, I don't know like if there's any other place sending so many users into decentralized applications.
No
So
way.
yeah, exactly. So we kind of like try to reposition ourselves like as the world's Dapp store. Like our goal is to work with the Dapp developers, to work with the like to serve the users and to help Dapp developers um, find the users and try to attract as many users as they can. And we want to help the users to identify the best dapps. I mean, I think that in a way it's like the simplest way I could explain that. Uh, the point is that we kind of see the difference between a Dapp store and an app store, because an app store in a way is like telling you more like visually, like it's kind of like through images, through maybe short videos, like which is the nicest game, which is the best app, through user reviews and so on. On our side, we're trying to help the user to decide based on data. So you're looking at dapps, but you're using data to decide if you really think that's a valuable dapp to spend your time and maybe funds into a dapp. So we think that's one of the key differences between obviously a dapp and the nap is like a dapp requires some sort of investment or like some sort of spending. Either it's like just buying some NFTs to start playing the game, or just investing some funds into a liquidity pool. There's always some sort of like deposit, let's say. And because of this fact, we believe like data is key. Like for any decision that you take as a user, data is key. And one of our goals is to make that data as easily digestible, let's say, for any type of user. We don't want to make super complex data analysis. Sure, we also have a research team which is doing super complex analysis on dapps and so on. But what we present to the user, we want to make it as easy as possible for the user to understand like if that dapp is worth his time and money. And that's one of the things we've done last year. We have repositioned ourselves as a dapp store, and we want to keep building on the same narrative. Like we want to really be a dapp store, and we want to introduce as many features as we can, and to improve the user journeys, discoverability of decentralized applications, and again also on the data side, we are I think on a daily basis we are quoted on major news outlets like Forbes, Business Insider, Vice, CNBC, and so on. So our data is valuable, and our team is doing a great job on picking the right gold nuggets from all the noise that it's on the blockchain, and trying to identify some trends, trying to identify where the market is going, why some certain events happened in the blockchain, and so on. So we are working a lot, and we want to use that research and the reports that we are writing. We want to use them to drive users into discovering decentralized applications. We still believe that data is key in anything that we're doing. Like you'll see probably if you look at our Twitter, you see data everywhere. If you look in our blog, you'll see data everywhere. So we really think data, but we're trying to package it in a way that's very easily digestible by anybody. Even if you're not a data geek, you'll probably still find it easily to understand that data. And last year, because you've asked me about the kind of the present, last year we've worked super hard on launching the Radar token, and it's not something we had in mind since the start. Like we had different ideas. I mean, we just want to be the pure, let's say, at the intersection of Web 2 and Web 3. It's kind of still being like with one foot in the Web 3 space, with one foot in the Web 2 space. But I think in the past year, we've seen a huge growth of the market of DappRadar. And we have realized that there are certain challenges. The blockchain itself is not very standardized. I mean, also the fact that we are tracking more than 30 blockchains, and we have just recently this week we have launched 3 new integrations. You have different languages for the smart contracts. You have different standards for NFTs on different blockchains. Even on the same blockchain, like, and this might be me ranting about standards on Ethereum, because even if we have an ERC 721 as a standard for NFTs, nobody's really using it. I mean, all the time. So we are dealing with a lot of data, and we see a lot of challenges when we want to import that data and to standardize it, because some users, like some Dapp developers, are doing it right. Others, they don't really care about those standards, and that's causing a lot of problems. And that's just one of the examples. But usually speaking, like the dapps, even if they're games, they're totally different at the smart contract level. So in order for us to deliver the best results in terms of data, in terms of analytics, in terms of information about those dapps, we need to look much more closer at each dapp in particular. So if you want to show the total value lock in a dapp, or the number of traders in an NFT marketplace, that means there needs to be some custom integration there. We can just pick it up and just, it's very easy to get that data. And we want, like, the future, in the future, we want to engage with the community. We want to enable the community and the Dapp developers to build on DappRadar and to contribute to all the things that we're offering. And the Radar token is the that's the reason we have launched the Radar token. We want to expand, we want to grow, and we can't even imagine when we'll have millions of Dapp developers launching dapps on a daily basis. How would that work for any other kind of platform that is trying to do that without the help of the community? I don't really see a way for that to go forward, at least in the current stage of the ecosystem. Maybe things will get better. Maybe there will be much better and stricter maybe standards that would make the tracking much easier. But in the current stage of the ecosystem, technically speaking, I think we'll need the help of the community, and we want to use the Radar token to encourage, to incentivize, and we want to bring communities of dapps on DappRadar. And Radar is let's say the fuel for doing so. We don't want to change the way we're working, and we didn't really created Radar to raise anything. Like, we actually had an airdrop to all the users, to the communities and so on. But we want to use it to actually improve and to expand our products and our offerings.
That is amazing. And for everybody that's listening here, I think we are at an inflection point. And you're hearing this now. As of right now, it's February 3rd, 2022, as of the streaming of this. But I mean, Dragos, you're creating history, dude. Like, you're literally defining history in what y'all are doing. I mean, for those listening, like, I hope you realize what you're hearing and where this is all going to go, because I think it's going to be magnificent. And just the idea of using the token as it's almost like incentivizing the community to help build it with you, so everybody wins on top of everything that you're doing, in the vision of being the Dapp store. Like, I see y'all are almost like a portal to where people come and they don't exactly know how to do what they're doing or how to get what they need. And they have a problem and they just go through the DappRadar ecosystem and they get their problem solved. It's like a solutions based, like, it's like a solution in a website all about. I mean, this is beautiful. It's amazing. So yeah, I'm blown away by that. I'm absolutely blown away. Have you been planning this from the beginning, or did you like develop this over time?
I think initially we were focusing on dapps. I mean, also, yeah, for a while NFTs were not really. I mean, they were always the thing, but they were not very popular. So, like, after the after the CryptoKitties boom, everything slowed down, and NFTs were not a thing for probably 2 years. Like, nobody cared about NFTs, while projects like Axie Infinity, the Sandbox, and the others kept building. Nobody really cared about them, and now everybody goes crazy about them, and it makes sense. And like, that's a lot of work there. But just trying to say that, like, while others were building and nobody was nobody cared about them, now like, all that work, because yeah, some people might think, okay, it's like they have just launched out of nowhere. No, like, it's 3-4 years of work for all those games and all those dapps that they've put in, and now they're here. So for a long time we were mostly focusing on dapps and on data, and we were trying to be super accurate, and we were trying to look at decentralized applications, like, just in the broader scope. But as the time passed, we realized that users are kind of getting more, let's say, niched. Before, you had Dapp users. I mean, if it was a game, if it was maybe a gambling Dapp, or like, it doesn't really matter. Like, yeah, you were just using dapps. But as the time passed and more dapps were published, and more users joined the space with each cycle, because we've been through so many cycles since the start, we've realized that some users are getting more interested in some specific blockchain. Other users are getting more interested in some specific category. So like, just one thing, because now it's like, again, we are also going through the multi-chain narrative, but DappRadar was multi-chain. I mean, we're tracking multiple chains since like the first 6 months. We first had Ethereum, and then in the first year we've integrated EOS and Tron, which are like, were the most popular back then. And we've kind of realized that the users are kind of starting to be interested in some specific kind of like blockchains or games, or categories like games, and that's when we kind of started to understand that we need to start also kind of doing a bit more niche specific activities. So now on DappRadar you can see metrics specifically for DeFi, decentralized finance. You can see metrics specifically for NFTs, like traders, marketplaces, top sales, and so on. And you can also see generic metrics for all the other dapps. And now we're coming and we're preparing a lot of nice things about games. I'm super excited about what's upcoming for games, because we all believe in games and we all think that that's gonna be much bigger than it is right now. So I don't think at start we were just focusing on all the dapps, but as the industry like just grew and grew and grew, I think we have started to understand the interest in specific categories and niches, let's say. And I think the part with the contribution was always there. In a way, we were always open, like anybody can submit dapps on DappRadar. You can just need an account and you can submit a dapp. We are verifying that. We're making sure like all the informations are correct and so on. On the other side, we were always open, and we kept an open communication with our users when they were telling us like some metrics are wrong, or like you guys should do this or that, or like you missed that dapp. But it was more like in a traditional way of doing things. So I think that was always there, but we've realized that like last year, we've realized that the challenge when a market is growing so fast, I don't know if we'll be able to keep up with that on our own. And not because we kept hiring colleagues, and we can keep hiring. But at some point, if you get like 100 new dapps a day, that's going to be like impossible to integrate 100 dapps in one single day, for example. So
sure.
We've realized that the community help will be key to be able to scale at the same time with the industry, because we really believe like we'll have billions of users in the next years, and if we'll have billions of users, we'll definitely have millions of dapps as well, because they need to use something. So I think we've realized that we need to have something, and we need to find a solution, and we need to find a way to work together with the community. And it's not the community working for us, it's like, I think it's working together is the perfect word, because they will be incentivized for doing so. And we want, we also have like we're super early, but we have also launched a DAO, and that means that we want the community to also be part of the decisions that we're taking, like what sort of pages we are creating, or like for verticals, for games, how should we develop certain products, what protocols we should integrate next, and all these things. I think these are all questions where we should work with the community, and we should try to involve everybody, because we really believe in like in this like world that it's kind of built by the blockchain and by the smart contracts. And we kind of felt, as I said, like for a long time, we were just like a Web3 type of business in a Web2, a Web2 type of business in a Web3 world. And I think we are moving towards being much more open, transparent, and try to get the community to work together with us at the same time, much more than we did before.
I love it. I feel like we could talk for hours on this, but I want to make sure we kind of cover a lot of different topics here. So let's move to what you're seeing as far as the market goes, specifically with games, crypto games, and the metaverse. Like, where are you seeing the users going? What types of games are really knocking it out of the park, and what can we learn from that?
Yeah, I think again, as I said earlier about the metrics, we really believe in games, and we really think that games will grow this year. And we've seen like the last 3-4 months on DappRadar, probably the most popular pages were the games pages. So the people are looking mostly at games, and they're trying to identify like the upcoming games, the popular games, and so on. And I think last year was all about NFTs, and then at the end of the year, it started to be much more gaming related. And we've also seen like great investment rounds last year. I think we've seen around $3-4 billion invested into games last year. I think my colleagues wrote an article about that, and I've read it like earlier today. So there's definitely something going on there. We will definitely see a lot of great projects being launched. And also, like, even if I think we'll see innovation and a lot of development from both sides, like new projects and new gaming companies that will release new products, but also from the current products. Like, again, I'm gonna look at Axie Infinity, and they had an amazing year last year. They've raised a lot of money. They're doing great with their tokens. They've recently launched Ron, like their Ronin token, and the plans that they have with the Ronin protocol to onboard more games and to help games follow their success. I mean, they're coming. They're probably like one of the first games in this industry that they can really take like another company by its hand and kind of drive it through the experience that they already had. So I think we'll definitely see a mix of traditional, also like traditional gaming companies trying to get into the space. We've already seen, I don't think with much success so far, like big companies like Ubisoft and EA and so on. They had some sort of negative answer from their communities and from the gamers, which I think it will change in the future. I think the sentiment, it will change. I still think we'll need more education. That's another thing that DappRadar is focused on a lot, educating users and trying to educate what that means. It's not just selling some NFTs and that's it. Like users, like and gamers, especially like traditional gamers, they will need to understand and they will need to get educated that it's in their own benefit to accept NFTs into games. Also, like the gaming companies, it depends on how they will implement NFTs into their games. But overall, I think the end goal is to make the whole gaming ecosystem much more inclined towards the players rather than the gaming companies. And I think as soon as both gaming companies and users, like and gamers, will understand that, I think that's when the shift will happen. And I don't think we'll see that much of a negative impact from the gamers towards the gaming companies. So we still have more education to do with, let's say, in the traditional world. But yeah, I still think it's going to be a big year like this year. We will definitely see a lot of new titles and like, again, also new ones that are kind of just building their games right now. But I also like Axie Infinity, Sandbox, Decentraland, all these games. I think they will develop. They have raised tons of money. They have an amazing community around them. A lot of community generated content, so user generated content, and that's amazing. So yeah, I think I'm super excited for this year, and we'll see a lot of things. And just to finish that on the metaverse, I think also DappRadar launched when we did the repositioning, we had the event in Somnium Space. So that was like another new thing that we've tried. I don't think a lot of companies tried that before, and it took a lot of preparation. And yeah, we worked together with a lot of people in like a lot of colleagues in the company to pull that event out, and I think it was amazing. The fact that we were like in the middle of a pandemic and being able to be together in an event with slides, presenting and talking at the microphone, where like all the avenue was listening to what was kind of being said on the microphone. I think that was an amazing experience, and that's not even gaming, but that's like from the metaverse experience. I think that's definitely going to be the future. Like, to me, still, like, the quality maybe is not the best right now, but in the following years, I think, yeah, events in the metaverse will be a norm. Like, I literally don't see it otherwise. It's amazing. Also, like, sometimes at DappRadar, from time to time, we are doing our weekly meetings inside the metaverse. It's much nicer to see 55 characters, one next to the other, than just seeing 55 faces on a screen. It's much more interesting and engaging. So I think that's going to become the norm.
Absolutely, absolutely. So many nuggets you just dropped there, and to kind of take a step back for a second, it seems like there's a little bit of a chicken and an egg problem with the gamer, the game companies, and then the capabilities to build really good games in the legacy game companies and legacy games and then crypto games. The quality right now is very heavily skewed towards legacy. Like they've been spending years with massive budgets building incredible games, but their model is off as far as really putting the community first. And like you said, it's going to take a lot of education, but somebody has to give. It seems like it almost has to come from the gamers have to just kind of put our flag in the ground and say, look, we care about this. We care about gamers and the gamer community, and we want to move towards this new model of Web3, player owner, play and earn, that whole, all the beauty of crypto gaming and what that entails. But gamers want to play fun games. So we also need fun
Exactly.
games for us to rally around. So it's like, well, you need the gamers to have the fun games because you need the funding to get them. But then the really fun games are not doing it that way. Like, it's a really interesting, almost like catch 22, but it's like a catch 33 because there are things, there's like three kind of players there. So what do you think is going to be the final push, or at least the sign of the major inflection point that, okay, we're for sure all going this way, this is definitely happening, to the point where somebody in the mainstream would agree? Obviously I'm way sold on that. I started the Crypto Gaming Institute, I'm super biased, but like, what does a mainstream person have to see for then to it to for it to then be mainstream that, okay, we're going here, this is how it's going to be?
Yeah, I think yeah, I'm not sure if I know the right answer to that, but like I see it in a few ways. I also like one thing that you've mentioned is which is like fun. Obviously, like games, like they need to be fun, or they need to be engaging, or they need to kind of give you something that you want to play that game. So it's not just, if it will always remain at the fact that I'm just playing to make some money, but I'm not having fun, don't think there's a long future for that. So we'll definitely need more fun and more like engagement with these games. And obviously there's like a lot of user experience, fun, onboarding, and so on. Like there's a lot that can be improved at, like from the current blockchain games. But I think I kind of have like a few scenarios. Like either we'll see someone like X Infinity or like Decentraland becoming super big and becoming super popular, or like or Sandbox, for example, because Sandbox is a very good example compared to super popular games like Roblox or Minecraft, and it's so easy for gamers to relate to those to Sandbox if they have played Minecraft or Roblox. So I think we'll either see one of the blockchain games becoming super big and starting to get audience and to get users from the traditional games, and if they will give it a try and they will understand the benefits, I think that's when it will. I think everything is just, it will, like people will just start talking. Like they will say, okay, I have, like, you can play Fortnite right now and you can spend like $1,000 in Fortnite, and that's it. You've literally lost those money in a way. Like you cannot get them back unless you sell your account, but that's maybe illegal in the terms of and conditions,
Right,
and you
right.
might lose the account and so on. So I think
It's not liquid. It's not liquid.
exactly. So if some, like if a friend of mine, for example, would kind of get some items in Sandbox, they will tell me like, hey, I'm gonna stop playing Sandbox, but I can sell my items and I can get my money back, or maybe not even all the money, but some money back. I think that's when like he could convince me in a way. So I think we need to get to that point where some users will start playing, and then they will start sharing their experiences, and other users will like other gamers will learn, and they will understand the importance of owning the items, of maybe having more transparency of how game works on the blockchain, how some decisions of the game are being made, and so on. So yeah, my two scenarios are like, either we'll see someone like big as Axie or like the Sandbox going mainstream and adopting hundreds of millions of users into their games, or we'll definitely need someone like a traditional game that will adopt NFTs, but they need to, like, not necessarily NFTs, but the blockchain in general. But it needs to be done in the right way again, because I have like some worry about how some big companies could, let's say, adopt NFTs in their games, because they will always try to. I mean, obviously, as an entrepreneur, I kind of understand that from like the company perspective, they want to maximize the revenues. They want
Right.
to keep most of the revenues to them. But on the other side, I think there are plenty of ways on how they can do that, and in some cases, I actually think they could maximize, like they could actually get more revenues by adding royalties to those
Exactly.
items and so on. So
Exactly.
it's not about losing revenues. I think it's actually about increasing the revenues if it's done and if it's implemented in the right way, because the users will be much more, the gamers will be much more incentivized to trade those items. So royalties could be a great use case in this particular situation.
I agree. I agree completely. Dude, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know we're approaching time here. I want to be super respectful of yours. So yeah, I just want to say thank you. This has been an incredible conversation, and I'm just so grateful that you would take the time to come chat. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for the time. It was a nice discussion, and yeah, I hope you had a great time as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you, Dragos. And shout out to the whole DappRadar team. Love what y'all are doing. And to everybody watching and listening, I want to thank you very, very much. And I will see you all